Hi, this is Sage from the Center for Integral Leadership, and today I'm going to talk a little bit about how do we create the music of innovation. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, first of all, I think everything great in life has a musical metaphor, and so why not creativity? And we have really good examples in the world of this. The example I want to use today is that of improv jazz. Think about it. You go out to a bar and you get a group of musicians. Some of them have played together before, some of them haven't. And they get up on stage and they make musical magic. That doesn't always work out, but with a good improv jazz band, you have an amazing emergence going on all the time, where the players know how to sync up with each other, how to move into flow states with each other, and how to create and give space or shift the lead just almost intuitively. A really, really good jazz show is just an experience that's hard to explain. Well, my work with creativity, I found that creative teams often use the same set of descriptions to describe a breakthrough innovation. So this isn't talking about like an incremental innovation, like the next set of features on a smartphone, but more like a breakthrough innovation, the concept of a smartphone in the first place. What do you think it was like for that team when they made that first prototype of the iPhone? Okay. In my many interviews with creative teams and catalysts who have facilitated these moments, most of the time the answers about that experience are emotional. People talk about synchronicity, they talk about flow, they talk about a sense of surprise. So my question is, can we actually consciously build that in our organizations, in our design teams, in our communities? And the answer is yes, we can do it. Okay, we can make the music of innovation. Now, how do we do it? Well, the thing is that we need to develop the kinds of skills and capacities that an improv jazz band has. So the musicians, first of all, know how to play music. They know their instruments. So you need skill. You need skill and expertise in a variety of areas. But also, they have a lot more than just technical skill. They have diversity. Each member of the band does something different. So skill, diversity, and then they all have a sense, almost an uncanny intuition to move and flow with each other. Now, how do you develop that? Well, those are capacities in people. And if we take this metaphor and translate it to organizations, I could say that there are some conditions to pay attention to create high-performance, innovative teams, and there are some capacities that support those teams in those efforts. So the conditions are creative fire. How do we tap into and harness the creative potential that every person and every team has within them? Okay, so we have to find ways to inspire and get people back into spaces of play. A second condition is working with the unknown. Okay, newness does not come from the past, and this is the problem with expertise. You know, we experts, when we build something based upon what we know, we're basically operating in the past tense all the time. So if we really want to create something new, we have to break from our expertise. We have to step into the unknown, the uncertain, and that has a lot of implications. Most of what comes with the unknown is fear and uncertainty. So how do you manage that? How do you help your teams build containers which are strong group coherence in order to be able to survive the journeys of the unknown? This is another set of conditions to really look at for successful cultures of innovation. The third is culture itself. When you walk into work every day, how do you feel in your environment? Is it a wholesome culture? Is it a place that you want to come in? Do people smile at each other at the door? Or is it one where you come in and it's just, I'm into my cubicle, I've got my job to do, and when I check out, I'm going to go home and barbecue with my wife and kids? Okay, those are two very different realities. Now, you can have both, right? You can have a great work culture and still go home and barbecue and have a good time with your kids, and that really is the ideal world. But in many organizations, it's not true. A job's just a job. So how do we make our cultures places of well-being and wholesomeness so that our uniqueness and our talents are nurtured, and so that everybody has a role and a valued role? That's part 3. And part 4 is purposeful action. This is the land of strategy in coordination and coherence to ideas. Does your organization or your team have that? Do you know exactly what you're doing or where you're going? Is there an engaging, compelling question or issue that you're trying to solve? And it doesn't necessarily need to be a problem. It can also be a great opportunity. People talk about the world being very volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous, VUCA, and it is, for sure. But it's also a tremendous time of opportunity. And if we can tap into that, then we can leverage ourselves, our organizations, into the future in very strategic and profitable ways. So those are the 4 conditions necessary for high-performance teams. Creative fire, working with the unknown, wholesome culture, and purposeful action. Okay, so those are things to design and to develop within your organizations and your teams to create the music of innovation. But what about inside people? Right? There is a personal component to this as well. And so I want to talk about something that I've coined PACE, right? And it's an acronym that stands for presence, authenticity, courage, an ecosystems mindset, and empathy. Okay. In our work in building cultures of innovation, there's a lot of skills that are important, but these 5 make a big difference. So I'll start from the top. Presence, awareness. How mindful are you of yourself, your environment, the way that you interact with that environment and other people? How capable are you of sensing the emergence of opportunity? If we are locked down in doing mode all the time and we don't focus on the beingness, which presence is part of, then it's very hard for us to have the open mind in order to attend to what is important, whether it's a crisis that needs to be managed properly or whether it's an opportunity that could be missed. Presence really helps us with both of those things. And so cultivating a dynamic awareness, an awareness that is responsive to situations, is a critical capacity for innovative cultures. The second one's authenticity. Now, authenticity, a lot of people interpret as being true and honest. And that is a big part of it. But there's a difference between just being true and honest all the time and being a good, authentic team member or authentic leader. So an example from China was we were having a dialogue about what authentic leadership was. And a Chinese executive, head of a major company, said to me, he said, look, we have someone who is in our family and he's very authentic, but he's a terrible leader. And yet, so he's driving the company into the ground. And that created a very interesting conceptual distinction. Authenticity versus authentic leadership. You can be true to yourself and very honest and be authentic, but an authentic leader also needs to look at themselves in relationship to the environment and the system around them. So an authentic leader might notice, hey, I'm not the best person to be in this particular position. I need to recruit help. And they do so. That is authentic leadership. It's not just self-authenticity, but it's authenticity in relationship to the whole that you're part of. So the third capacity is courage, risk-taking. Do you live from a place of fear, or do you live from a place of trust in the universe? If you trust the universe and you believe that there is an abundance of things out there, then you have it's a lot easier to be courageous, actually. But if you think from a fear mindset and a scarcity mindset, then it's much more natural to be fearful and protective. Which mindset do you think is more important for creativity? I'll let you think on that one. Interconnection, or an ecosystems mindset, is next. Okay, it's easy to think about ourselves and our own ideas and our own expertise. We're all trained this way by our society, by our school, and it's fine. But we don't exist alone in the world. We exist in relationship to ecosystems. So it's not just the me, it's the we in terms of the people around us and the it in terms of the broader system. And that could be the organization, the society, the planet. There are many different levels of ecosystems awareness. So in the conscious business movement, Kaufman talked about people, planet, profit as a set of values for people that wanted to operate purposefully and with consciousness. I agree with that. And that is a really great example of bringing ecosystems awareness into your teamwork. Now, that doesn't mean you always need to be thinking about saving the planet all the time, but it means integrating the needs of individuals with greater wholes and being mindful and aware of that relationship so that your individual efforts are serving the larger effort. And it's not just all about you. Okay. And the final skill is empathy. Designers can tell you that empathy is absolutely critical to being creative and to creating innovations because you have to understand the people that you're trying to create for. That makes sense. That's obvious. But how about empathy for the other members of your design team or the other members of your organizational team? can you actually step into the shoes of the people around you and feel what they're feeling? If you can learn to do this, then it really gives you another set of capacities as a leader or a facilitator. It allows you to see holes, to step into other spaces, to operate from awareness, to be authentic, and to take risks. Now, leaders of teams can easily see how these skills, these capacities, I should say, are useful. But could you imagine a scenario if everybody on the team had these skills? When you get teams like that, which are very rare, you have really breakthrough moments happen. And sometimes those breakthroughs are in terms of the outcomes of an innovation process, a new product, a new service in the world that's absolutely revolutionary. This is what we call a strategic breakthrough or strategic innovation. But other times the breakthroughs are within the culture where it transforms the way people interact. And so that you automatically get some of the conditions necessary for a culture of innovation. You get purposeful action. You get alignment around mission. You get a sense of a wholesome culture. You have people that have the capacity to work with the unknown. And you have people that are inspired, which means they're creative. So these are some of the ways that you can build a culture of innovation that has the qualities of improvisational jazz, where people can just step into a space and make music or make magic in the case of innovation. Now, if you'd like to learn more about this, there's a workshop coming up next month, and it's a transformational leadership workshop where I'm going to be introducing leaders to these concepts in much greater depth. And we're actually going to be prototyping the use of these capacities and skills within an organizational challenge or an opportunity. So if you'd like to learn more about that, please visit our website. It's www.centerforintegralleadership.org, and you can contact myself or David Gruder, the Executive Director, at any time to ask questions and to get signed up for the program. So thank you for your time today. 12 minutes was a long time. I hope I kept your attention, and I will talk to you next time.